Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you live from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a great start to the weekend. Hi Pachu, hi Satisfying Times, hi Monica, Samir, Shanyul Park, Tina, Chungmin, Samir, good to see many students. Today IELTS Part 2 for speaking, the cue card. We're going to be looking at what you need to do to get those band 9 scores, or at least get close to, get over that 6.5. All right, everyone. Quick announcement, there are new membership levels. If you are planning to become a member of our channel, then look carefully at the membership levels. Choose the one that fits your budget. You can join our premium full course through our website, of course, at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for the general version of the test. I'll give you a quick glimpse of those websites. Hi, Danish. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. The websites, students, they look like this. This is the academic website here. You can click on the big red button to join our premium full course. And as you can see from this new graphic, we are now partners with British Council for their as an IELTS registration center. So you will see that on both of our websites. Here is the general version of the exam website. Green background, click that red button to join. If you want to register for the IELTS exam for students in Saudi Arabia, we can help you out. We will have more countries available soon. Okay? All right, students. Let's hop back here to today's lesson. This is the last lesson for this week. Next week, of course, we will pick it up on Wednesday. If you have a question, send me an email, Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, at aehelp.com. And I will post next week's schedule on the YouTube community bulletin board. Let's have a look at the speaking question for today. So this is, again, IELTS Speaking Part 2. Make sure to speak and repeat after me when you hear phrases and sentences that you feel are useful. Definitely repeat them, okay? I use West Coast North American English. It's a very clear accent in English. I'm from Victoria, beside Vancouver. So repeat questions, repeat answers, vocabulary as you hear them. Do the best that you can. Students, for those of you who are new to IELTS in the speaking section, the speaking part of the exam is done separately from the other three sections. You will have an interview face-to-face with usually a native English speaker, and it will take about 12 to 15 minutes. It will have 3 parts. You will get instructions for all 3 parts of the speaking. Speaking part 1 and 3 are question and answer format. Part 1 are general questions concerning you. Part 3, usually some more specific questions concerning the world around you. So be clear about these 3 parts. Today we're focusing on part 2. Hi, Shanghun, good to see you in class as well. So part 2 is a little bit tricky. It's unique. It's challenging even for native English speakers, simply because it's not a common way to express ourselves in our daily lives, okay? I'm sure most of you will agree that we do not go walking around during the common day, getting cue card with questions on it and then speaking for 2 minutes, doing little mini presentations. So you have to practice part 2, okay? It's kind of like practicing giving little presentations in your classes in high school or college when you have a group project and you have to give a speech in front of your class. It's kind of the same idea. And it's even a little bit trickier than that because you really only have 1 minute to prepare your answers. So time is the enemy here. You have to use your time wisely. Hi, Priyanka. Good to see you in this class. All right, so here's the cue card that we're looking at today. Part one will finish. The examiner will ask you the final question. You will give an answer, and then the examiner will say, okay, that is the end of part one. Now we will continue with part two. For part two, here is a card with some questions on it. You will have 1 minute to look at the questions, think about your answers, and then 2 minutes to speak. You may take notes if you wish. Are you ready? Go ahead, turn over the card. You turn over the card, and this is what you see. IELTS Speaking Part 2. What should you do? So when you turn over the card, what should be your very, very first step? Okay? What should be your very, very first step as you turn over this card? What do you think? Step one. Yeah, Carolina says, well, read the questions. And Carolina, yeah, read and make points carefully. Okay, Satisfying Time says, read carefully. Yeah, that word carefully is very important, students, and that's why I'm emphasizing it, and I'm glad to see that some of you have stated that. So read the questions at a comfortable pace carefully. Okay. The number one mistake, and I still see this, no matter how much I say this, I still see it. The number one mistake in part two cue card is students do not read the card carefully, or the candidates. They talk about a different idea, a different topic. They miss questions. And for all of those reasons, your band scores go down. So you really have to be cautious. You really have to just read it carefully. And I know why. It's because you feel time pressure. You're like, I have 1 minute. I have to really think quickly and I have to be ready. So students go like this. They go, okay, talk about a time when you returned something you bought at the shop. What was it? When? Where was it? What was the reason you returned it? What happened? Okay, here we go. Notes. I returned a pair of shoes. What were those shoes? They were basketball shoes. All right, why did I return them? Well, because the laces were broken. So that's not the right way. Okay, that's a bad approach. All right, here the turtle wins the race, not the rabbit. Okay, the turtle wins the race. 1 minute, students, is a lot of time if you're not panicking. Okay, if you're not panicking, 1 minute can be quite a long amount of time. If you're panicking, it's gone in the blink of an eye. Okay. Now, Mohammed Wahab clearly says that the next step is you should identify whether it's a person, place, an event, or an object. So what it is. Okay, what is it? So step one, read the question at a comfortable pace carefully. Step two, thank you, Mohammed, for helping us with that. Identify whether you are, not whether like that, whether you are talking about an object, person, place, event, or idea. And here, obviously, we're talking about an object, an item that I returned. Okay? So when we're talking about an object, and make sure to practice all of these for speaking part two. So practice talking about objects, practice talking about people, about places, about events like birthdays and weddings, about ideas. Make sure that you practice all of these topics because you never know what is going to come up. Now, Roshni says that it's an object. Pachu likes to say that, hey, this is an event because you returned the object. And yeah, it's primarily an object, but Pachu is kind of right too. There is a little bit of an event here as well. So this isn't just an object. We're not just talking about what we return, but we're talking about the situation as well. So there is kind of an event hidden here as well. However, the focus is an object. So when we talk about an object, what do we need to state in order to clearly talk about it? Okay, so what do we need to make sure to include in the 2 minutes so that our listener goes, okay, that's really clear. I get what you're talking about. Okay. So Pachu's saying you should talk about its appearance, what it looks like. Yeah, absolutely. Ideas are made clear, especially objects, when we can visualize them, when we can see them. We talk about its function, yeah. So what is it used for? Right? We can talk about its significance. That basically means why it's important to us. Okay. So appearance, function, significance. Shaniel Park says maybe the price. In this context, yes, but not always, Chaniel. The price is a detail. What else do we talk about? I don't see it up there yet. When we talk about its origin, okay, so these are important. The appearance, the function, its significance, and its origin. Where does it come from? Okay, those are what we talk about. And the function is the utility. So how do we use it? Where do we use it? Okay. All right. So we got that. Step 3. What do we do? So this is all happening very quickly in the 1 minute. In fact, this is happening in the first 20 seconds. Okay. Hi, Eugen. Thanks for the emojis. Hello, Panda, and what is that, a cat? I think it's a cat. Back to you. All right, so what's step number 3 here? Yeah, so Roshni says, choose a topic that's unique and simple to talk about if possible. Absolutely. So think of a couple... So think about 2 or 3 possible answers and choose the one that is somewhat, it doesn't have to be really unique, so that can also be a problem if it's difficult to talk about. Something that is somewhat unique. What I mean by that is not all candidates are talking about it. And it's relatively easy to discuss. Okay, so you don't want to talk about a decompression chamber that you bought for your dive school, which you had to return because the pressure valves weren't functioning properly. That might become a very difficult piece of object to talk about for 2 minutes if you don't have some extremely high-level English and very specific knowledge of decompression chambers that are used for diving situations. So think about a couple objects. So Mohammed Wahab says mobile phone. Okay, so let's hear some suggestions here. Mobile phone is one. Okay. What other objects do we commonly return? If you can think of 1 or 2 that you actually have returned in the past, that's good too. Okay, so Shaniel says shoe. Bibek says maybe a bicycle. Carolina says TV. So shoe, bike, TV. Tina says an IELTS book. Maybe. I would probably stay away from that one, Tina. Joanne Justy says a wallet. Now, remember, Joanne, you're returning this to the store that you bought it from. So, wallet. Shoes from Amazon, Samir, might get to be a little bit tricky. Bashir, a hot air balloon. I don't think I would go with that one. Nobody really returns a hot air balloon to the place they got it from, but hey, you never know. Some goggles, ceiling fan. I like that one. Who came up with ceiling fan? Chung Min Yun says ceiling fan. I like that. That's a clever one. A teapot or a chair. Yeah, so my opinion on these so far, students, mobile phone, definitely not. First of all, mobile phone, it's probably one a lot of candidates are choosing. Secondly, a mobile phone is actually a very complex little pocket computer that can get really tricky to talk about, okay? A shoe, probably another popular topic. Shoes we usually return because they're too small or too big for our feet. Again, you might get into some awkward vocabulary describing what is wrong with a pair of shoes. Bike is okay. TV is all right. It's not too unique. Ceiling fan is a very good choice. Teapot, again, might be a little bit difficult to explain technically what's wrong with a teapot. Chair, if it's an office chair, might be a good choice. Okay, so there's some good ones there. Maybe some kind of an electronic device that's got a simple use, okay, like a microwave or an oven. All right, that could be easy. Laptop, again, Hermes, could be tricky to describe why you return your laptop, but it's all right. Okay, let's choose one of these. So, again, don't overwhelm yourself. You only want to think about 2 or 3, all right? So, a bed, Joanne, is not a bad one as well. That could be a good one, okay? All right, so let's choose one of these and talk about it. Create our 2-minute little mini speech. All right. So which one of these do you think is going to be a good one to talk about? Give me your opinion. Just choose from the ones here, and the one that I see come up most in the chat, I'll choose that one. So write up the one that you think is a good one. Okay, I see bike has quite a few votes. Ceiling fan has a good number of votes as well. Yeah, it looks like ceiling fan. All right. Sure, let's try it. See how it goes. So ceiling fan it is. One beautiful part of the ceiling fan, okay, is that it's definitely unique. Okay, so the examiner is very unlikely to have heard another student that day talk about returning a ceiling fan. And that already kind of gives you a little bit of an advantage in your marking. So let's choose ceiling fan. So our choice, drum roll please, is ceiling fan. All right, so we have our ceiling fan. We have some notes that we want to write down here. Okay, don't write notes. This is just for us. In the 1 minute, you have about 40 seconds. So first of all, think about when you're thinking of your notes, the key points with an object. So appearance, function, significance, origin. Okay. So what does it look like? What does the ceiling fan look like? And now we'll discover whether it truly is an easy topic or if it's difficult. Thank you, Shanghung. Ceiling fan. Okay, so what does it look like? It's round and cylindrical blades. Okay, that's what Danish says. All right, circular. Sure. Okay, how big is it? Give me some numbers. Use some quantitative language. Okay, it's white colored or it's black colored. We don't need new lines for that. So 4 blades, cylindrical, it's white. Okay. 20 centimeters around. Typhoon, no, I would say that's pretty small. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So let's make a 1.5 meter diameter. Okay. Diameter means across. Okay. You could also say that one blade is roughly a meter long, if that would make it 2 meters. Okay. All right. Abdul Qayyum says it's got 3 wings. Wings is okay, Abdul. I think that would be acceptable. They're usually called blades. All right. So 3 to 4 blades. Sure. Okay, so 4 blades, cylindrical, white in color, 1.5 diameter. That's lots for the description. Fine. So keep going. What's its function? What is it used for? Okay, Pachu says it's got 400 RPMs, so rotations per minute. That's not bad. Sure, we can add that in. It's a clever suggestion for its description, Pachu. So what is it used for? It blows air. I don't think so, Juan Pablo. It doesn't blow air. So Jagadish says to cool the temperature in the room. So to cool the room temperature. Sure. What else? Let's see. Anybody? Let's see if anybody's come up with a couple other ways to describe that or to describe the function of it. I think it's just more than just cooling the temperature. In fact, fans don't really cool much. That's air conditioning systems. So cool room temperature, move the air, keep the air fresh. Okay, sure. That's fine. Anything else? Create a light, relaxing breeze in the room. Okay? So, just from what you're writing, students, I can tell that you're having a little bit difficulty to explain what's going on with this ceiling fan other than cooling the room temperature. It's moving the air, it's keeping the air fresh, it's creating a light, relaxing breeze in the room. This is why at home, when you're practicing for the exam, always test your theory about your choices so that you know whether or not it truly is easy to talk about or if it's a little bit tricky. Okay? It's decorative. Sure. That's a good one. So it makes the room look a little bit nicer as well. Sure, people have ceiling fans for decoration also. All right. Good. So that's the function. Significance. It's kind of included in the function to make us feel more comfortable, more relaxed. We might be able to add a little bit more to it. So why is it important? Hot days or hot summer days, depending on what part of the world you're in. Yeah. So keep us, that's supposed to be an S. So keep us in comfort during the summer months or hot summer days. Sure. Reduces heat. There's one other very important aspect of a fan, and it comes to mind. So when you're visualizing, and this is a big tip here for you, so I'm just going to add this as a tip. Okay. When you're visualizing, remember to think of all of your senses. Touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. Why did I say that? So there's a logic here to why I just mentioned this. So when you're thinking about your object or the event, whatever you're talking about for part 2, it's very, very important in that 1 minute to stay calm and visualize, create the situation in your mind and think about it not just from your vision, that's often what we tend to focus on, but try to think about also your other senses, like the sensation on the surface of your skin from the fan moving the air. What else might come to mind with the ceiling fan if we think about all of our senses? What is a very important feature of a ceiling fan? Yeah, Bibek, thank you. You got me. So Bibek Guthrie says the sound can be really annoying. Yeah, so people usually look for ceiling fans that are silent. Okay. So silent, so it's not annoying, right? Carolina says also it can remove the bad smells from the room. Absolutely. So you can turn on a ceiling fan if you burnt some food in the kitchen. Sure. So that's another one. Clever, Carolina. I didn't think about that, but very clever. Now, of course, in the 1 minute, it's unlikely that you're going to have time to get lots of notes down. However, your brain is capable of visualizing and sensing a lot of information in the 1 minute time. Okay, so one more here, the origin. Where did you get it from? So where do you get a ceiling fan from? Where does it come from? Yeah, Satisfying Time says it can keep insects away even. So now we have lots and lots of great utility and function for the ceiling fan. So Shaniel Park says an online shop from Amazon, from the internet. Okay. Yeah. All right. Where else? If I want to physically buy it. Furniture stores. That's right. So Bashir says furniture stores. Okay, great. Now, students, for this task 2, what do you think is a better choice? Talking about getting it from a furniture store, a local furniture store, or talking about getting it from the internet? Which would be the wiser decision? So if you got this cue card and you're thinking, okay, do I want to discuss buying an item online that I had to return, or I actually went into a shop to return this? I'm really curious what the balance here will be of responses. So most of you are saying furniture store. Notice that most of you are saying furniture store. A couple of you are saying maybe the internet, but I would say furniture store is easier to talk about, okay? Keep in mind, everyone, that your goal on the IELTS exam is to take the easy path to your Band 9 or Band 8 score, okay? Talking about buying a ceiling fan from your local furniture store is going to be simpler than talking about how you made the order online. There was some problems with the delivery. When you unboxed it, it wasn't quite what you had in mind. Then you had to print out a prepaid postage voucher to return the item. If you don't know that, if you don't know vocabulary about postage and the post office and returning items through internet claims, then you're going to get yourself into a heap of trouble finding the correct vocabulary to truly express your ideas. So be very, very careful. Okay, again, choose the easy path to the high band score. That's the key. Okay, so we have its origin. Now we have one more step in the 1 minute preparation time. What is that? What's the last step? Okay, so we have step 1. We read the question. We have step 2. We figure out we're talking about an object. We know we need to talk about its appearance, its function, its significance. We have step 3. We thought about a few different objects. We decided to talk about a ceiling fan. Great. Next step, we wrote down some notes about the appearance and so on. And now we have one more step. An educational Guruji has the right idea, along with Gulnaz. Think about your first sentence, okay? You have to get your first sentence out quickly. You must not wait 15 to 20 minutes to start speaking. I see it way too often where students are like, so an object that I had to return not so long ago, and by the way, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this. Okay, and then it's like, dun, 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 dun. Your 2 minutes is going, and you're not getting points. The examiner is actually taking points because you're not being fluent. Okay, so one way to show fluency is to speak right away when the examiner says your 1 minute preparation time is up, please begin speaking. So step 4 is have your first sentence ready to go. Okay, let's do that. Okay, give me your first sentence. So how would you start this response? Ferdov says, a month ago I returned a ceiling fan which I had bought 2 weeks earlier to the furniture store named Antoshka. Very good, Ferdovs. I love it. That is a band 9 start, my good man. Okay. Thobatu says, a week ago I bought a ceiling fan. The cost was around $20, and I had to return it. Students, right away show the target or show the focus of the cue card so the examiner feels confident and comfortable that you're actually answering that card. You're not talking about some ideas that you memorized. You're not lost in some other world, but you're actually talking about this cue card. So show them that right away in that first sentence, okay? Chung Min says, Jungmin, I'm not sure what you're saying there. You might want to rethink that as your first sentence. Roshni Kunte, starting with some nice natural English. Roshni says, oh gosh, I can still remember this ceiling fan I bought from a furniture shop about 6 months ago, and I had to return it, unfortunately. Roshni, very good. Practice that intonation. So, oh boy. I definitely remember this horrible ceiling fan I bought about a month ago, which I had to return 3 days after to a furniture store called, let's go with the name that Ferdovs gave us, Antoshka. Okay. All right, don't overcomplicate your first sentence. Just make sure it has the key elements. If you complicate it too much, you run the danger of making mistakes, and that can cost you band scores. So keep it as simple as it is comfortable for you to know that it's clear and accurate. Okay? Nima Thula says, an object which I vividly remember was last May, a terrible ceiling fan from a furniture shop that I needed to return. Nima Atula, that's good. Okay, couple of corrections. Danish says, a month ago I bought a ceiling fan from an online store called Amazon, and unfortunately it was a defective product, so I complained and returned it through the carrier. Okay, Danish, you're going with the online store. I advise against it. You're already making a couple mistakes in that opening sentence, so careful, careful. Chung Min, let me see where your sentence is, and I'll let you know if you can start with that. So Chung Min says, so as I mentioned earlier, I bought a ceiling fan to feel cool. Chung Min, it's unlikely that you're going to have the chance to start that way because it's unlikely that in part one you're discussing your defective ceiling fan. So I think you're thinking more about part three. But yet, if you can make a connection, you could do that if you had some earlier discussion with the examiner about a ceiling fan that you returned. Sure. Amira says, I remember 2 months ago, I bought a new blue dress from the mall, which is in south part of the city. And when I went home, I felt that the color of the dress doesn't work with my skin tone. Amira, that's good. Again, careful not to overcomplicate the first sentence. And Amira, this is Amira Hamed, make sure that you include the I returned it to the store. So I had to return it to the store. Okay. Then you can explain more why you returned it and what was wrong, but just show the examiner that you're on the right cue card. Okay. So here we go. Oh boy, I definitely remember this horrible ceiling fan I bought about a month ago, which I had to return 3 days after to a furniture store called Antoshka. All right. So, what's a good way to continue? Let's go with the next sentence. What would be a good sentence to continue with here? Remember, students, use your notes, use the cue card, use your visualization. That's the 3 elements that will keep you fluent and keep it clearly structured, okay? So, while you give me the next sentence, I'll remind you of this. So, use your visualization. Cue card. Cue card and notes to stay structured and fluent. Okay, those are what help you. Yeah, so Amar Wadi says, maybe talk about the reason why. So why did you go get this fan? What was the plan here? Why did you make the purchase? Vanessa says, first of all, I called the store to know what I needed to do to change the product. They gave me all the instructions, such as making sure that I have proof of purchase and the product invoice. Vanessa, that's great. That's some good information. I would probably precede that with some other information. So that would come just a little bit later, Vanessa. A little bit later. Just a touch later. Okay? Ferdov says, I bought it not only to create a light, relaxing breeze in the room, but also to keep my room clear. As I am a dad and fresh air is good for my children. Okay? Yeah, that's right, Ferdovs. That's what I would do, is first express my goal with this fan. Why did I want to get it in the first place? That makes it a lot clearer for my audience why I return it. Okay, so my original goal was to install a ceiling fan into our living room to keep the house a bit cooler and create a nice, comfortable breeze. Also, we have a couple of dogs. Just making it up, visualizing. And this way, we could keep the air fresher. Okay? Yeah, so give some underlying information. Give a basis to what you're saying. Absolutely. Okay? So let's see. Sophia says maybe talk about its appearance as well in the beginning. So it's a beautiful fan with designs on it, but unfortunately it didn't work the way I had wanted it to. Yeah, so Sophia, that's good. Absolutely, I agree with you. So now it's a good time to talk about its appearance. Why did you choose this fan, right? So think about your answer as a series of questions, right? What was it? Why did you buy it? Why did you return it? What happened? So think about it as a series of questions. That's why I said use the cue card. Okay, the cue card helps you with that series of questions. So initially, I decided on this fan because it is quite large, about 2 meters in diameter, and the specs were quite good. 400 rotations per minute, and claimed to be very silent. My wife really liked its pearl white color, so we brought it home. Okay, again, natural language, students, natural language. Keep repeating after me. Okay, Amarjit says, I purchased it for keeping a breeze in my living room, but due to problems with its circuitry, I had to return it. Electric problem, Amarjit, is unclear. In English, we wouldn't use that. Okay. Chungmin says, it was working well for a few days, but soon it was making some weird sounds. The remote controller wasn't responding with the ceiling fan. I called an agent, but nobody came. Okay, Chungmin, I think you're kind of losing yourself. So students, one danger is to go into a deep story and go off topic. Careful not to do that. So the way to avoid doing that is to come back to the card, okay? Not just in the 1 minute preparation time, but during your speaking, I highly, highly suggest looking at the card at least once, okay? So when and where was it? What was the reason you returned it? What happened with the item in the end, okay? So you need to focus on those questions, all right? Gulnaz says, the reason why I returned it is that it had a scratch on the tumbler switch, and the sound after installing and switching it on was irritatingly thunderous. Yeah, Gulnaz, I love it. I love the sensory information that you're giving me. Irritatingly thunderous. Okay, you can create similes here, Gulnaz and students. You can say it sounded like the propeller of a helicopter, okay, or the blades of a helicopter, the propeller of a plane, all right? So those are some good reasons for returning the ceiling fan. All right. So it took me over 3 hours to properly install it. And at first, it was working quite well. However, within 3 days' time, several problems appeared. Firstly, the fan stopped responding to the remote control. This still would have been okay had the fan not started making irritating noises like the blades or like the propeller of a B-52 bomber. Okay, so just kind of creating the language as I'm going along, visualizing it. Initially, I know that my big problem with this fan is the sound. Okay. Satisfying Time says, unfortunately, after installing it on the ceiling, not the wall, Satisfying Times on the ceiling, the motor was not working as expected at 400 RPM. The blades were turning much more slowly, and it was very noisy, which was extremely annoying. Okay. All right. Ferdov says, the reason why I had to return it was that my dogs were scared of the sound the ceiling fan was making. Yeah. Okay. I realized that I had to return the fan ASAP because my dogs wouldn't start barking at the sound, and my family couldn't sleep at night. Okay, good. So really getting into details about the problem and why you're returning it. That's a big part of this response. And then, of course, you can keep the rest of it shorter depending on how much time you have. But it's very, very important that you answer all of the questions on the card. Okay? So you can simply say, I took it back the next day with the purchase receipt, and the store customer service exchanged it for a different fan without question. In fact, they were quite apologetic. Okay? So I've probably been talking for a while now, from what I assume. Now, am I done here? So is this it? Am I done? Should I just stop now and stare at the examiner like this? Signaling I'm done. Should I do that? Is that my next move on the exam? Carolina says no. Pachu says look at the cue card. Carolina says continue talking. Look at the cue card. Look at the cue card. Okay? That question should always be looming in your mind. Have I answered every question on this card? If you haven't, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to lose marks. You can't get a band 9 if you miss questions on the cue card. So you look at the cue card. So did I answer all the questions? Am I missing some information? What do I do? Okay. So did I talk about what it was? Yeah. Did I talk about when and where it was? Yeah, I talked about that. Did I talk about why I returned it? I sure did. I don't think I talked about that last question. What happened with the item in the end? Well, I returned it, but I want to be more specific with that. Okay. So Shangung says, that's the item I bought and returned and will definitely go back to the store to buy other furniture because of their good service. Yeah, Shangheng, that's okay. Let's be a little bit clearer. Okay. I'm not sure what happened to the original fan I purchased, but I imagine it got recycled or sent back to the manufacturer. In either case, I will return to this store in the future, as I was truly impressed by their customer service. Yeah. So that's how you would wrap it up. Okay, students, so there is my response for this cue card. Let's go through this together again. So repeat after me. Students, this is the last class for this week until Wednesday. Wednesday will be the next class, so let's finish strong. Repeat nice and loud after me. Okay, here we go. Oh boy, I definitely remember this horrible ceiling fan I bought about a month ago, which I had to return 3 days after to a furniture store called Antoshka. My original goal was to install a ceiling fan into our living room to keep the house a bit cooler and create a nice, comfortable breeze. Also, we have a couple of dogs, and this way we could keep the air fresher. Initially, I decided on this fan because it is quite large, about 2 meters in diameter, and the specs were quite good, 400 rotations per minute, and claimed to be very silent. My wife really liked its pearl white color, so we brought it home. It took me over 3 hours to properly install it, and at first it was working quite well. However, within 3 days' time, several problems appeared. Firstly, the fan stopped responding to the remote control. This still would have been okay had the fan not started making irritating noises like the propeller of a B-52 bomber. I realized that I had to return the fan ASAP because my dogs wouldn't stop barking at the sound and my family couldn't sleep at night. I took it back the next day with the purchase receipt, and the store customer service exchanged it for a different fan without question. In fact, they were quite apologetic. I'm not sure what happened to the original fan I purchased, but I imagine I got recycled or sent back to the manufacturer. In either case, I will return to this store in the future, as I was truly impressed by their customer service. Say that nice and fluently with that level of detail, answering all of those questions, giving a unique answer. So you're not talking about your mobile phone that didn't turn on, okay? Because every other student is talking about that. And then they're measuring you against those other students, even if they don't want to. So be original, all right? Choose the easy path. Students, remember these steps, okay? Read the question carefully. Focus on whether it's an object, person, place, event, or idea. Practice each of these for your next exam. If it's an object, talk about its appearance, function, significance. Very important step 3. Couple of choices. Pick the one that's the easiest and is slightly unique. Okay? Then, don't forget this very important step. Have your first sentence ready to go before your 1 minute preparation time is up. Keep these in mind, and I promise your band score will be better. All right, students, that's it for me for today. For lots more tips and strategies and practice, check out our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general. You can also download our app academic IELTS help. Just look for our shield in your Apple Store or in your Google Play Store. See you next Wednesday, guys. Pachu, thank you. See you next Wednesday. And I wish a great rest of the weekend to all of you. Bye for now.